World Series champion Jonny Gomes, who is joining us in the booth here in the fourth inning. Johnny, great to see you. Great to see you down on the field as well. Were you as touched by this ceremony as it seemed like everybody else was?
I tell you what, there's not many opportunities where you see grown men that are competitors, borderline shed a tear. And I think even with those emotions, it's still light of how lucky we were, how lucky the game is, how lucky the country is to celebrate David Ortiz. And I don't think it's anything that this game's ever seen before. I mean, we saw Jeter, leave, Mariano, and we saw Chipper. But, I mean, this guy's still driving the bus and, in first place. So I think that kind of caught everyone off guard, too. So, I'm sure the Red Sox fan and Red Sox would like another celebration.
Johnny, you played on a lot of teams that were in the playoffs. And what did it mean to you to win that championship here, be a teammate of David Ortiz?
Yeah, I mean, that really speaks for itself. I mean, we can go all the way back to, the tragedy of that year, in 2013. And, I don't think anyone really even had the guts to write that script of how it went, because it was just, from opening day on, to the Boston bombing to just, the Bruins and the Patriots in it at the same time. It was remarkable. And, there was a lot more in there than just, the main course. But, that's what I signed up for. And, I got my ring here. So, that's a lifer. And I'm pretty excited about that.
When you think about what kind of teammate David Ortiz is, and I think back to that day when he made the speech here, when he got the microphone, and you all felt like you were part of the same team on that day. But put into context what kind of teammate he was for you.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about, the speeches he made in the clubhouse. We can talk about the speeches he made, on the airplane. We can talk about the speech he made in the World Series. Obviously, the Boston bombing speech. I mean, this guy's got a fleet of life-changing events that, we're fortunate to share with him.
Take us inside that speech in the dugout, because something people don't get to know. You see it on TV, but you don't know what's being said. Just the gist of what he had to say.
Yeah, I mean, for someone to have 24 plus guys' attention, in the middle of the World Series, in the middle of the heat of the battle, and I mean, I explain it as like a a kindergarten teacher with everyone. All the kids are just looking at him. I mean, there's got to be so much about that person, to where majority of the time it's like, oh, here we go again, or
right.
What's he going to make up now? Or, here he is running our pie hole when we're losing and when we're winning and not, I mean, that, just can't be, sprung on the guys.
Bautista bunting here, drops it down, it's going to roll foul.
Wow, you don't see that very often.
No, sir.
And that's a good sign for the Red Sox to see. But these are trying to bunt. Remember, he's got 6 career home runs against Price.
I've been wanting to ask you since that day, because you came up, had a huge hit after that. Big blast there in St. Louis. Did you find it inspirational? Does that actually follow suit like that?
Yeah, I always say, this game's too hard to turn on and turn off. But if you've been around and you competed enough, you can have it in you to turn it up, and I think that's what David was talking about. It's not like our switch was off and we have to turn it on, because once you turn that switch off, you can't turn it on mid-season or mid-game. And that's just what, David, wanted to remind us. And, yeah, it was, again, I don't think anyone had the guts to write that story, but, we wrote it for everyone.
You're watching this ball club this season, David's final season. He's a big part of the reason the Red Sox have won the American League East and are headed to postseason play again. But are you awestruck by what he's achieving right now at 40?
Yeah, I was just talking about that earlier. I mean, being a part, in the dugout and watching all the huge hits that he got in 2013 in the postseason, from the division all the way to the World Series, and it was David another home run, the 2 home runs, at Price, and then the grand slam, all stuff. And on my end, I was like, when are we going to stop being surprised? Like, what'd you think was going to happen? Like, he's not going to strike. I mean, this guy is as clutch can get. Until that, cord is pulled, what you see David doing this year and last year and the year before is, the David that, I've seen and played with and expect.
Nobody knows a person like a teammate with the exception of their family. And the baseball community is is very, very tight, and you've had the privilege of being in the clubhouse with him.
Yeah.
What type of person would you say David Ortiz is?
I think to be at a superstar caliber player, when you look at those guys throughout, all the 4 major, sports in our country, when it's all said and done, they, talk about the selfishness of that player, because it's so hard to be that good. You can't really be in tune with the 24 other guys. You can't really watch them in the cage. You can't really help them out because it's so hard to be that good. So for David to be that good, but just straight in tune with every single one of your at-bats, where your hands are, how he's pitching you, to be in tune with your family was something I've never seen before. And I think, truly can't be duplicated. So if someone's trying to groom the next David Ortiz, just cut that cord right now.
Was that 13 team one of the closer knit teams you've ever played on?
I think so. It's hard, obviously, to come into Boston in this, hostile environment, whether you're.
Be a base hit for Bautista, and that'll send Encarnacion down to second, first and second, nobody out.
Yeah, it's a hostile environment to come in, but I think, again, it was like that perfect storm of how many free agents came in at the same time. So there was a good chunk of us going through the first of, what Fenway and the Sox have to offer, which is different than, a lot of other organizations.
And a lot of those guys also had postseason experience, too, that came in.
Yeah, I tell you what, it was opening day, here, and I remember, getting close to spring training. I was playing left and looking around, and all out of the starting 9, 8 of us had playoff experience. And you go look like when the Phillies made their run, when the Yankees made their run, when the Giants are doing their thing, they had the playoff experience on that organization. We had the Napolis, the Drews, the Victorinos, the David Rosses. We had playoff experience in the American League, the National League, underdogs, the top guys. So I knew right away, that, we're going to be able to get through June. We're going to be able to get through those low times, because that's what it's all about, was when you've been there and, how to carry yourself throughout the season.
Chatting with Jonny Gomes, World Series champ from that tremendous 2013 Red Sox ball club. Is that experience absolutely necessary to go far in postseason play?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about getting through the bumps, the groundhog days, if you will, you don't have those bumps, in the postseason. I mean, you got to make that adjustment on the fly. When you got your back.
Martin with a high fly ball in the left center field, but there's Jackie Bradley. He's got that. Runners hold at first and second. And that'll send up Troy Tulowitzki. And because this is obviously an interesting Red Sox team with David Ortiz, Dustin Pedroia, some guys who've been there, done that, but a lot of other guys who haven't yet. Guys like Mookie Betts and Jackie Bradley. So are you as fascinated to see how they're going to react in October?
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, I mean, they got, David Price on the mound right now. That second baseman is unbelievable. That guy puts a huge, weight on his shoulders to stay in tune with all these guys that haven't been there. And then you got David, let's load him up for David, at any given point when you got that club, it's nice to have.
Tulowitzki doubled his first time up as he caught some green and lefts. We have no score here in the 4th inning. Jonny Gomes, our guest, back in Boston, carrying a trophy onto the field. It's always a great way to come back to Boston, isn't it? Yeah,
I mean, to get the the camera off this beautiful mug of mine to put it on the trophy, definitely helps me out. But I always, it's kind of funny when you go to like these charity events, or you go to
pop up on the infield, and Hanley Ramirez there with Pedroia.
Oh, that's Pedroia.
Infield fly in effect, and Pedroia will take that for the second out.
It's funny when you go to these events, it's this and that and the charity and all that stuff, and towards the end of the night, it's funny how all the champions are kind of over here in the corner. It's just this fraternity that you get in for life, and you're not really invited unless you have the ring. So to be a part of the hardest boys club, man's group, to attend in the world, in my eyes, is special.
Now you'll have that forever here.
That's a lifer, and good thing for me, I can run it back in the Midwest in Kansas City too.
Yeah. Indeed, with the Royals.
Yeah.
Here's Upton, 0 for 1. He's tapped to second. Runners at first and second as Price tries to get out of a mini jam here with 2 down.
What do you miss
teammates here?
What do you miss the most about not playing?
Winning. You know, I watch a lot of baseball. I mean, I'm still in the battle. I mean, I still got guys from all over, you know, who text me, watch this, watch that. You know, what do you got on this guy? So I continue to stay in the battle. But, you know, the emotions, man, when you see a guy coming in with a huge hit, you know, and the high fives in the dugout, that, you know, can't be simulated, you know, anywhere else in any sort of lifestyle. So the emotion, I mean, this game is built on, you know, failure, you know. But, you know, when you can talk about, you know, the success and the positive side of it totally outweighs the negative. It's a pretty awesome game.
Well, Johnny kept finding himself, funny enough, in winning situations, going to postseason play year after year deep and contributing in a big way each of those times. He knows a few things about winning. The 0-2 from Price trying to end this inning. And did not get the call there, just inside. Any of this appeal to you, the broadcast angle?
I mean, you guys are nailing it. I watch you guys a lot at home, and, you know, I definitely do want to tip my hat to you guys. And, you know, you guys are the voice of the Sox, and you guys do a heck of a job. You really do. I can imagine it's hard to make some stuff up, you know, when they're in a grind. But
I'm sure you could find a way.
Yeah. But, yeah, you guys are awesome to listen to at home.
Very kind of you. The 1-2. He got him. Down he goes, strike 3. Johnny, thanks so much for the visit. It's always a joy to see it. Brings back a lot of smiles.
Thanks, Johnny.
We'll be back for the 5-year anniversary.
Yes, sir. Johnny with the trophy. Still scoreless here at Fenway.